All right, so this is pretty much everything we have here with the SnapMaker 2.0. We got the laser with its build plate, the goggles, and the head. The CNC machining also comes with goggles, the chuck, the bits, and the head. And we have the 3D printing build platform installed on the machine at the moment. And you also get a full roll of filament, and I got black PLA here. The quick start guide, which is the manual for this thing, is incredible. So much detail and great pictures, extremely well put together, and just a very premium experience. So everything builds up from this base. We got 4 squishy rubber feet on each corner. Everything that looks like metal is metal. Some of them is cast and some of it's extrusions. So we got modules that run all of the axes, and there's a total of 5 of them, 2 on the Y, 2 on the Z, and 1 on the X. Really nice little touchscreen display that's removable, and it is magnetic. It sits in its own holder here. Very well built, and love the overall feeling of it. Let's go ahead and peel this protector off. So it is on a coiled cord, so you can kind of pull on it. And if we go on this side of the printer, we can see this is where our main brain is, where everything plugs in. So the top one's our tool head. And then we got an add-on, X, Y, Z. A couple more add-ons. Heated bed, the power input. And below that, we got USB options. Our power supply sits separately. The wire that comes out of it is pretty long, so you can put it on either side or even have it underneath somewhere. But the on and off switch is here, so you do need to have it where you can reach it. So this is what the printer looks like from the back. We got our 2 splitters, which is for the dual Z and Y, and our spool holder here. This is where it connects, and our filament will come from here into the hot end assembly. This wire here travels to a little clip here that kind of holds it out of the way. And this is our 3D printing tool head, which is easily removable with these 4 bolts and can be changed to CNC or laser. And you guys can see it's a really nice piece, and this door does open. That's how you access your extruder. And underneath we can see the key block, tip, fan shroud for cooling, and also our leveling sensor here. The work platform is large, and we have the 3D printing build platform on here. This is a nice and large flexible sheet, and it's actually the same on both sides, and it magnetizes to the aluminum heated bed, and the aluminum bed does connect through these little bolts everywhere, which you can replace with these other options. So I like how this is magnetic, very easy to pull it off, pop the models out, and then put it back on. And we do have a 320 by 350 by 330 tall build volume, so a very large work area. And over here I have a little calibration card, and this is going to be to set your gap between the nozzle and the bed. And also we have a USB thumb drive, which is in metal and looks really nice. And this is going to plug in on the very bottom, and this is how you can access your files through the screen. Now you do also have an option to connect this printer wirelessly, or you can hard connect it to a computer and control it like that. So yeah, I'm very impressed overall with the build quality, the materials, and everything that's included. And I am pretty excited to power this thing on and try the 3D printing. And if that goes well, we'll also try these other tool heads and see how they do. All right, so I got everything plugged in, and I think we're ready to power it on. I put the power supply on that side, so it's a little more room here for me. And I put my little plant on it, so let's go ahead and turn it on. And it blinks actually. I saw some lights coming out of here. And our display is powering on. All right, so we got a little animation there, the SnapMaker. Now it looks like we're ready to set it up. So yeah, you guys can see on this power supply, we got a pretty unique light coming out of it, and it is pulsing in this kind of whitish color, I guess. All right, so on the screen, we have a little welcome menu here that says hello. So the first thing here, we need to choose our language, which is on English. We'll click next. All right, so start. We got to agree to privacy policies and disclaimers. So we'll check that, click agree. So we can rename our SnapMaker. Right now it's named Darth Moore. I guess let's go ahead and rename it just underscore print, which by the way is my new 3D printing channel. And I'm sure you guys can see, but yeah, we got a really nice keyboard here. It kind of feels like Apple product, honestly, the way it looks and responds. So we'll click save. So now it wants us to connect to Wi-Fi. So I think I'm going to skip this for now. Now, if you want to wirelessly control your printer, you definitely want to set this up. Kind of gives you a warning that some things might not work. So we'll go ahead and skip anyway. Now it's going through some safety instructions. And the first part here looks like is about calibrating the bed. So let's click on start. And sure enough, it's starting to move here. So it's kind of like a little tutorial that walks you through the setup. All right, and so we see that the Y is working, the X was working, and now the Z going all the way down. So This cable probably needs to be a little longer here. Alright, that seems perfect. Alright, so it just automatically starts taking the measurements of the bed. And we can see that here on the display. It's only doing a 3x3 though, which is interesting. Alright, so it kind of went into this kind of pattern. Now it's at the middle. And it is finished with that. In the next part, we're going to set our gap. And for that, we're going to need this little leveling paper. But yeah, basically, we're just going to set the offset between the nozzle and the bed. As you can see here right now, my card is very loose. So we have increments we can choose from, 0.05, 0.1, and 0.5. So let's go down a bit. Actually, I need to go quite a bit more down. So I'm going to choose the 0.5. All right, close. Okay, that was too close. Let's go to 0.1. And now we can go down a little slower. Oh, I grabbed it. So now we're going to go 0.05 and go down very slow. Okay, so once you have a point where it grabs, you want to go up 1. And so it just kind of gives you like a slight drag between the nozzle and the bed. Now I might go up just a little more, just so I have practically no drag. Because this calibration card is really thin and the bed is not heated and the nozzle is not heated. So that probably will expand a little bit. But you will be able to adjust that later on also. So yeah, once you're happy with your gap, we're going to click on save. It looks like that's going to bring up our x-axis up there. And the next thing we're going to do is load the filament. So I'm going to use my own roll as we have this nice bright color, which we'll be able to see easier. And we're going to cut it on an angle. And so the spool goes here on the spool holder on the top. And then we're going to feed down into the extruder on the top here. So you can just stick it in there. And then we're going to click on next. And here it's saying that we're going to need to preheat the nozzle, which is going to go to 200. And you can adjust that right here on the display to go more or less. And it's preheating really quickly. So once it hits close to 200, it's going to give us the option to load and unload, the 2 buttons here. So we're going to click on load, and it's going to try to pull it in. And all we got to do is just kind of push down, and it's going to grab it. So it's actually pulling it down right now. Eventually, it's going to come out the bottom there, and we'll see it purge. Okay, so we got to push it again. Looks like it's only a certain amount that it pulls through. Okay, there we go. And eventually, we get our color coming out the end. And there we go. So we're preheated, we purged. Let's click on done. And it says that we have successfully completed the 3D printing setup. So let's click on got it. So a little warning popped up that we do have a software update available. We'll click on got it. And this looks like our main menu. So we can see the 3D printing and the heat bed are ready to go. We've got a start button down here. Here's our nozzle temperature and bed. So let's see what happens when we click on start. It's going to go to the files and it gives us a couple options, either to load or USB. So I do have the USB thumb drive plugged in here on the side. So let's click on that, and it looks like there is a file there, but there is nothing that's available to print. So I guess we will have to go to the computer and install the SnapMaker software so we can slice our own prints. But before we do that, let's go ahead and check out what we got here. So files is going to read our USB ports, and then we got calibration. This is going to be for the bed leveling, which we did already. Control, this is going to give us axis control, and we could also home here or individually move, and also the z-axis offset. And on the bottom we can see we're in the move, and then we got nozzle, and you can preheat it here, and also the heated bed, which can be set here. So let's go to 60 on that and 200 on the nozzle. And if we go back, we got another one with settings, and this is going to be setting up our Wi-Fi, our language. We got about the machine, terms and conditions, user preferences, firmware update, guides, 3D printing, and export log. So if we click on firmware updating, we can see it says check for updates, and it cannot because we're not connected to Wi-Fi. So I think I'm going to go ahead and connect to the Wi-Fi, as I feel like it's going to give us a lot more features like the updates and things like that. So I'm going to choose my network, enter the password, click on save. So let's go to firmware update again, check for updates. And interestingly enough, it's not really doing anything. So I have a feeling that we need to set up first in the computer, and then we can probably do a lot more things. All right, so we're at the computer and I got the thumb drive plugged in. Let's go ahead and open it up. And the only thing we have on here is a file called loss.dir, and there is basically nothing in here. So thumb drive doesn't come with anything useful right out of the box. What we're going to need to do is go to SnapMaker.com, the official website, and download the slicer. So if we click here on software, you can see it says SnapMaker Luban, and that's their slicer name. So here you can download for whatever operating system you're using. I'm Mac, so I'm going to click here, and we're going to save it to the computer, and that's all we need here, I think. All right, so our file downloaded. Let's go ahead and open it up, and now we need to drag to the applications, and we are installed. And now we can see it. It's in our app folder, so it's going to ask if it's okay to open it. I'm going to say yes, open. And there we go. And this is what the Luban program looks like. So here we can see we got 3D printing, laser, CNC, and workspace. So to get started, let's go ahead and click on this 3D printing. And this is what we see. So if you've used any kind of slicer, this is kind of familiar here. We got the build platform, and to the left we got the navigation, and the right the parameters. So let's go ahead and drag something in here. We'll start with the calibration cube. So I just literally dragged it into the screen. So if you click on the cube, kind of highlights there, and you can use here to move it, clicking on the arrows, or typing in the position here. They also have a move center. And the next one over is scale. So you can drag it also to scale it larger or smaller, or you can put it in here in percentages. And then we got rotate. So yeah, these are the basic functions to the model. And also we have mirror and support. So moving to the very top up here, we can see that we can choose the material settings, and we have PLA and white. Not sure why that matters, but in any case, you choose your material here, and we have different kinds like ABS, PETG, TPU. So underneath that, we have our 4 profiles here: normal, fast print, smooth surface, and precise and strong. So depending on, what kind of print you're printing, you can choose any of these 3. So we're going to stick to normal to start off with, and we can see here kind of quick overview of what normal is. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave everything the way it is, and we'll start with that. And if you want to adjust, in more detail, you click on more settings, and here you guys can see you've got quite a few things to adjust. But if you want to really adjust even more, you can go to advanced or all. So advanced is going to give you quite a bit more to play with, and then all is going to give you even more. So, and it's all broken down here in the different structures. So yeah, depending on how well you are informed with all this, and it'll take a bit to learn, but this is where you adjust your profile. So we're just going to leave everything the way it is and print our first prints here with normal. So on the bottom here, it says generate G-code. If we click that, it's going to slice the model. And here it kind of shows us the preview of all of the layers, and you can drag this thing up and down to see. And the color codes there show you what parts of the print it is. So if you're happy with everything, you're going to click on export, and you're going to have 2 options: export G-code to file and load G-code to workspace. So I guess let's try the load to workspace. This is what we get, and it tells us here all the parameters, how long it's going to take and things like that, and the material amount. So this is a preview. Let's cancel that. Okay, so this is our connection to the computer. Here on the left, we can see that we can connect with serial port, which is with the USB cable, or Wi-Fi, which we did connect the printer to, so we should be able to find it. And sure enough, it comes up here. So let's click on the connect, and it says screen authorization needed. So now we're going to go back to the printer and click on yes to connect. And now it says connected, and here it says that we can disconnect also from the screen. And back to the computer, it says that it needs to home, so we're going to okay that. And so now we're going to be controlling the printer here from the computer through Wi-Fi. So it's going up for the home. Here it wants us to select the kind of printer we have, which is the SnapMaker A350. We're going to highlight that, and then it's going to ask us which tool head's attached. We're going to click on 3D printing and select. So now we should be connected and be able to print our little cube here. So under G-code files here, we can see that we have a work file made here to do this print. And we have a couple choices here: send to device or start on Luban. So since we're connected to Wi-Fi, we can start it right here. So let's go ahead and click that and see what happens. And sure enough, there it goes. So looks like our printer is doing something over there. Okay, so it's gonna preheat, looks like. And our Z is coming down. And now we wait till we preheat. So back to the computer here on the left, under 3D printing here, the nozzle temperature, which we're almost at our target. And then our heated bed temperature is at 34 right now. It needs to go all the way to 70. And here we have the work speed at 100%. And then on the very bottom, we have a left Z offset. Not too sure what left means. I'm guessing this means you can, go a little up or a little down if you need to. And you can choose your increments here from 0.05, 0.1, or 0.2. So if you, are too close to the bed, you can adjust it here straight from the computer to go up a little or down a little. And on the screen here, we can also see nozzle and bed temperatures, which we are at 60 now. Yeah, it looks like we can't do anything from here. We only have this large disconnect button. And at this state, everything is controlled through the computer. All right, so it looks like we're heated up and it's starting to print. Okay, well that's great. And our offset looks pretty good too. And so our job status is on the right side here. File name, the time passed, time remaining, 1 hour and 7 minutes. And then the G-code line here at 1% finished with a progress circle here. So yeah, and you can pause it, stop it, and that's pretty much it. And down here we have X, Y, and Z positions. So if we click on back, we can actually go back to our slicer. Let's see if we double click, cut maybe. Okay, yeah, so cut deletes that file that we just sliced. And let's go ahead and throw in a benchy in here. And it's asking us to repair the model. I guess we'll let it do that. And we're gonna slice this little benchy exactly the same way as we did the cube. So we'll click on generate G-code here. And we can see the layers on this. So we can choose two things, either to workspace or the G-code file. So if you want to just save it to your computer or the thumb drive, but I'm gonna go ahead and export this to the workspace again. And we can send it to the device from here, but I'm going to cancel because it's right here. And once our cube finishes, we can do our benchy also from here. So you can, load multiple workspaces into here and then start them. So since we started the cube, that's in progress. And then after that, we can start the benchy too. So yeah, it seems pretty intuitive overall. There's some figuring out to do here and there. If you click on home, you can start here from the beginning. You can choose what you want to do. So we're going to print these out and see what they turn out like. Alright, so we printed out the calibration cube and the benchy, and they both turned out okay. So let's take a closer look at the cube, and yeah, it looks really good. Only thing is, we were too close to the bed, and we kind of got an elephant foot here. The bottom looks nice. So this is our x-axis, and you guys can see the layers do sit pretty good. There was a bit of under extrusion here and there, but other than that, yeah, nothing weird, no ghosting, no artifacts really. And this is in normal mode, so yeah, you guys can see the under extrusion there. Not too sure what that was all about, but yeah. So except for some of these gaps, the cube actually looks really nice. Now I think adjusting the parameters of the print profile would help greatly, as this is what you get if you don't adjust nothing. So the benchy's still stuck to the plate. It's completely cooled off. Let's see how easy it comes off. And look at that, pretty easy. So yeah, it looks like this thing sticks when it's hot and pops right off when it cools off. And if your build plate is still hot, you can pull it off real quick, set it on the table, it'll cool down really fast and then pop the print off. So for the benchy, I added more offset as before I started printing it, and you guys can see we practically don't have an elephant foot. Maybe a super tiny one, but that's what our bottom looks like. The sides. And this did take over 3 hours, so it doesn't look as good as I would hope, as we still have some kind of under extrusion or something. But it's not awful or anything, it's just not perfect, I guess. So we got good cooling. And if we go to the very top, you probably guys noticed that we had pauses there, these blobs. Pretty sure that has to do with the parameter settings, where if it's doing a single layer of a certain time, it has to pause for that time. So again, I would like to see a little better performance from the provided stock profiles, but obviously all that is adjustable and you can set the parameters yourself, and you probably should to get the best results. So I'm going to go ahead and try to print some more stuff with different filaments. Because we do have a direct drive extruder, we can try some TPU, and maybe I'll try something hotter like ABS and see how that goes. Alright, so I am printing and everything is going good, but I got this message again saying that we need to update the firmware. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that. And we're going to swipe across, go to settings, and sure enough we have firmware update, and there's actually a little new icon next to it, and you guys can see that it's ready to be downloaded. So this wasn't available in the beginning. I'm guessing once the computer is connected to the Wi-Fi, it eventually gets what it needs and also knows that it needs to update. So let's click on this button here. And there we go. So we got a progress bar of it downloading the update. So yeah, guys, I'm really impressed with the navigation and just this screen here in general. It's quite intuitive and very nice to use. Alright, so that didn't take long. So now it says update now on the button. Let's click it. Alright, well that was pretty quick. Well, at least for the progress circle, as it's taking a little while here to finish up. Okay, I heard some sounds. It sounded like it restarted. And we got another progress bar. Okay, so it's updating the main controller now. So there's actually a couple updates in one. Okay, now updating the touchscreen. And there we go, update successful. Click complete, and looks like we're ready to go. So for the next part, let's go ahead and print from the included thumb drive. So I sliced a file and put it in here from the computer. And so this is how you would manually do it. You would plug it in here on the side in the control board. It actually said USB detected. Now if you do go to the main menu, you can click on start and that'll read it. Well, actually it will read the internal saved files, but you can click on USB here and you guys can see we have a few there. So I'm going to click on this ABS drift wheels. And we're going to try to print some ABS, and it looks like it's parsing the file. And once it's done with that, then we're going to click start, and there we go. So it tells us all the information, how long it's going to take. So we'll click on start. By the way, you could adjust the settings also. Okay, so apparently our calibration did reset, and it's warning us that we need to do that before we start our print. So let's click on calibrate, and we will do that then. And we've seen this earlier, guys. Pretty simple. It's going to take its measurements, and then we're going to set the offset. So the firmware update did reset everything. Alright, so now we just need to set the gap where it slightly rubs. So once you're happy with that, I'm going to click complete, and it's going to home again. And it actually goes back to the printing, which is really cool. So yeah, this thing is quite smart and actually starts it. Again, the software is quite polished, and you guys can see we're actually going to heat up to 75 on the bed, which is quite hot for this large bed. I believe the maximum recommendation would be 80. I know it does go a little higher, but probably will take forever. It is warming up, but it's gonna take a while, and I'll let you guys see how long it's gonna take as we have a minute here started. And you guys hopefully can see here, it's about 4 minutes to get to 60 on the bed. Yeah, well, exactly 4 minutes. So yeah, a very large bed and takes a while to heat up, but honestly that's not too bad for 60, and 75 is probably gonna take quite a bit longer. So to 70 it's 6 minutes and 30 seconds, about there. And our nozzle is now preheating, and the bed is almost 75 there, 74, and we are at 8 minutes. So yeah, about 8 minutes to preheat the bed, and now our nozzle is going to go to 260 and it'll start printing. Alright, so about 10 minutes later, well actually almost 11, we are now finally moving, and I'm going to swipe over so we can control our Z-axis offset here, and I'm going to have it on 0.1 millimeter so I can move a decent amount if I need to. It actually looks really good. I might need to go down just a little. I'm going to go to 0.05 here. Go down 1. Yeah, definitely need to go down just a little more. Okay, it seems to be not sticking at the moment. And there we go. Yeah, probably down just a little more. Okay, that's pretty good right there. I'll go down one more just in case. Okay, yeah, that seems about right. So yeah, you will need to fine tune it when you start, obviously, but it's quite easy to adjust it here. So if you're close, go to 0.05 and go up and down from there. But if you're pretty far away, you can, choose the 0.1 there. So here's all of our adjustments, which are nozzle temperature, and you get this kind of cool bar that you move around and it changes it to that. So same thing for the heated bed. And then our Z-axis offset, and then we can also control the work speed, which is the speed of the printer, and you can control that in percentages. So yeah, pretty simple and quite intuitive, and we are printing ABS, which is quite impressive. Alright, so we printed out a few prints, and overall I'll have to say it's a very good printer, considering this is not the only thing it does. Definitely the large build plate could be a plus or minus, depending on how you look at that. And even though the steel sheet does work good, and the build material on there, it is prone to be less tacky than other materials. So we've seen the first Benchy and the Cube. Those were that great, so I reprinted them again, and if we look at the Cube now, you guys can see that it actually looks much better. Yeah, very clean lines. And this is also 50 millimeters a second. Look at the Y. Beautiful. The X wall and the Y wall. So yeah, the bottom looks good and the top also looks great. So again, you know, if it's sliced good, it's going to print even better. And this Benchy here will say it all. You guys can see. Well, let's start here from the bottom. So bottom looks good. And look at those walls. I can get the right angle here. There we go. Very nice. So yeah, nothing weird. No ghosting, no layering or anything. If you guys kind of see the lines, that's just the reflections. If you really look at it like this, you can see how nice the print's sitting. Excellent walls. Practically no vibrations. And very low sagging on the windows. And even on the very back, we can see it says 3D Benchy. So yeah, excellent print. Definitely above average. So the printer can print well, but you do need to adjust the slicing somewhat here and there. So the next print is this little rocket, and this was printed in TPU, and not only that, in spiralized mode. So this is a very thin print, and you guys can see the bottom. I ripped the whole bottom off, so it was stuck pretty well to the build plate, and I accidentally ripped it, so I just decided to take the whole thing off. But this shows you how this printer can very nicely put the layers down in TPU, and this is really soft TPU. I mean, it's like ultra soft, so we can bend this thing into just a ball right here and it'll just bounce right back. So yeah, it kind of had a little trouble here because it's so thin and it's in spiralized mode, but it printed it out and we can see how smooth the layers went down on the upper portion here. So yeah, excellent print and does very well with TPU and no problems with spiralized mode. So for the last prints, we got these wheels. And what's great about this is that it's printed in ABS, and you guys can see again the layers are very nice. So we had pretty hot 75 on the bed and 260 on the nozzle, and yeah, this is what came out. Actually a very nice print, and we still have the supports under there. Let's go ahead and see if we can break it loose. And look at that, perfect. So yeah, it does the job on hotter filaments like ABS. But one thing I did notice is that it doesn't stick as easy because we can't heat up the build plate as much. Yeah, I wouldn't count on printing ABS too much on this printer, but you can obviously. And maybe using glue stick for the print to stick better will help with the overall experience. But yeah, with that said, everything printed out well and I'm quite happy with the performance. The only few things to note is that the fans do run somewhat audible, especially when you start really preheating. The power supply over there gets louder and louder. And what's interesting is that even in idle mode, the power supply never turns off. It always idles, so you know, that's plus or minus, I guess. Another thing is that you can hear the stepper motors inside. They're definitely not loud by any means. Another thing that could be a big deal, maybe not, is that when this whole thing goes up, since this is its home position, it tends to unravel the filament and it could jump over, which it almost is right now, and then get all tangled up. So yeah, that's the only problem here with this kind of setup, is that because it has to travel all the way from here up, all of that extra filament kind of just unravels on the spool and could pop off. And another thing, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but if you open this cap, right here on the very top, that block, that first piece of metal you see, that's actually a filament detector. And if we pull out the filament, there's a little click there when it goes in. So yeah, it does have filament detection, which is great.